Yeah. Susan, is 2 minutes okay?
I think so. I'm going to be very fast.
Okay.
Susan Jordan, the director of the California Coastal Protection Network. So it was in September 2016 in Newport Beach. I remember it like it was yesterday. Maricela Morales came and Mars Grodich came from Azul, so that was Cousin Azul, and they were actually imploring you when you were reviewing the proposed Puente Power project to incorporate environmental justice into your analysis, and basically staff said they couldn't do it because it wasn't part of the act. That was a thesis that Peter Douglas adhered to. So obviously that had to change. And then later that month, the governor signed into law AB 2616 by Assembly Member Adam Burke. That was sponsored by Azul and the City Project, Robert Garcia. And I should say that Robert Garcia of the City Project never agreed with Peter's thesis, and I believe they had many arguments about it. So the bill established the EJ seat that is now held by Commissioner Effie Turnbull Sanders, and it also said that you should be incorporating environmental justice into your decision-making and your actions. So we're fast-forwarding to today, and I just want to express my gratitude to Commissioner Turnbull Sanders, and to staff, and to all the groups who provided constructive criticism during the time, including, again, the City Project Azul, the UCI Environmental Law Clinic, CAUSE, and many, many others. And I really do see this as a landmark day in the Commission's history, and I'm just grateful to be here to witness it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Lucia Marquez.
Hello, my name is Lucia Marquez, a community organizer and policy advocate with CAUSE, the Central Coast Alliance United for a Sustainable Economy. CAUSE is a community organization in Ventura and Santa Barbara County with 17 years of history of community organizing and policy advocacy to advance social, economic, and environmental justice. We have often worked in the intersection of coastal policy and environmental justice, particularly in the community of Oxnard. Across the United States, people of color have overwhelmingly been concentrated in coastal regions, but typically cut off from the coast itself by unbroken walls of heavy toxic industry or luxury development that isn't meant to be served by all communities. Taking the environmental justice approach in coastal policy requires fundamental rethinking of who is connected to the coast and how. California's most well-known coastal environmental justice communities are the sacrifice zones clustered around coastal-dependent industry, including ports, naval bases, shipyards, power plants, that use ocean water for cooling, oil refineries for processing overseas shipments of crude, sewage treatment plants, the wetlands and marshes used as dumps for toxic waste. For example, in the city of Oxnard, where CAUSE has historically organized environmental justice issues for over a decade, has a coast lined with 3 power plants, 2 naval bases, 1 deep water port, a sewage plant, several formal landfills, and old dumping sites, including an EPA Superfund toxic waste site. It's no surprise to us that Oxnard is 85% people of color. That is an environmental justice community. Oxnard is also surrounded by more affluent coastal communities like Malibu, Santa Monica, Montecito, Santa Barbara, with excellent access to coastlines free of power plants or other heavy industry. I prepared for like 3 minutes, I'm almost finished. Many affluent coastal communities have created just as many barriers to coastal access for people of color and low-income people as the wall of coastal power plants, ports, and other oil refineries. For coastal environmental justice communities to reduce harmful polluting sites along the shores also brings a threat of massive displacement through gentrification. Providing real equitable access to coast to the coast will involve both removing toxic industrial sites and preserving affordable housing. I'm here in support of the environmental justice policy, and we're pleased to see the evolution of this policy in much greater detail. And
Thank you.
Thank you. I encourage you to adopt that, and thank you so much for
Thank
working
you.
with us.
Marcy, can you read that?
Gutierrez.
Gutierrez,
Granos.
Grados?
Can't read the writing.
Yeah, no, I can't read it either. Marcy? Marcy? What is she? I don't know. 2 minutes.
Buenos dias. My name is Marcela Gutierrez. I'm the founder and director of Azul. We're an environmental justice organization working with Latinx communities on coastal and marine conservation. Through our work, we have seen firsthand the problems that keep communities of color from enjoying our world-class beaches, and this is why this led us with the City Project to sponsor Assembly Bill 2616. Explicitly to provide communities of color with greater representation by explicitly referring to state civil rights law in the statutory definition of environmental justice, as well as the appointment of a commissioner experienced in and dedicated to environmental justice. This has been a very exciting and gratifying process, working with staff, with some of the commissioners, with our partners at UCI Law Clinic. We strongly commend the process, the public information, the robust efforts, the roundtable discussion, the consultative nature of this process. And to be entirely honest, there are other things, other safeguards that we would have liked to seen, but we think that this is a very good effort and a very good start of a journey. Everything, from having the meeting here is a change, right? Having a meeting in a place like this is a big change and a good harbinger of things to come. We really thank the staff for their endeavors to center environmental justice. In this, we enthusiastically support the implementation of the policy draft, and we thank the Commission staff for the consideration of all our input and for working to achieve equitable coastal management for all Californians. Gracias.
Thank you. Andrea Leon Grossman? Finito.
Good morning. My name is Sandra Grossman. I'm a deputy director with Azul and environmental justice, as my colleague just said, with working with Latinos and their communities to protect coast and the oceans. It has been said that the opposite of poverty is health, and I believe that is true now more than ever. Our current system has enabled polluters and the powerful to create sacrifice zones where the less privileged are segregated and exposed to terrible environmental racism and injustices, while others enjoy clean air, clean water, and disproportionately healthy environments at the expense of those who cannot afford to get out or fight back. That is why we're here today, and we're happy about the leadership from my state and this Commission on Drafting an Environmental Justice Policy. We must step up and ensure that we have a fair treatment of all people, regardless of race, culture, and income. We support the implementation of the revised policy and look forward to working with the Commission on the implementation of this policy of moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lydia Pons.
No worries. Jennifer Savage, Surfrider Foundation. Good morning, Chair Bochco, Commissioners. We support the adoption of the environmental justice policy. We also commend staff for incorporating feedback from the organizations who do this work on the ground, and for both the external and internal examination related to doing this work within the Commission. We have seen the policy advance into a more comprehensive and specific plan to incorporate environmental justice into the Commission's decision-making. And on a personal note, I was reading through the correspondence related to this item, and I know I should not be surprised, but it really still amazes me at what people will not only say but commit to public record. And it made me think about how as soon as I was old enough to know what racism was, I knew I was against it, which is good, but I also made the mistake for a very long time that thinking that that was enough, that me just deciding I wasn't going to be a racist was the beginning and end of the effort that's necessary for myself and the larger world. And fortunately, over the years, through their writings and work, conversations and examples, there have been people who have greatly enhanced my understanding of how far away from enough I was. And it's really humbling, and I don't know that enough will ever be a place that is reached, but I'm really grateful for at least being somewhat better informed in my efforts to do right in the world. And I see a similar journey taking place within our state agencies as the modern concept of environmental justice takes hold. In their report, staff notes that the Coastal Act is a statute inherently grounded in the principles of inclusion and equity, which is good, sure, but it's not enough, right? Because as staff goes on to call out, generations of injustices still disproportionately burden historically marginalized communities today. And as an organization dedicated to beach access, clean water, coastal preservation, Surfrider recognizes that the threats to our coast, ocean, the impacts to the public are not felt equally by all. We're dedicated to ensuring that our efforts reflect these facts. We deeply value our partnerships with our environmental justice colleagues, and we look forward to supporting not only the adoption of the EJ policy today, but its implementation going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.